BFBS, Forces Station, Little Mix, Black Magic, Sam Felt, Rani and Post Malone. It's very nearly 10 minutes past 9, all across the UK. It's our national breakfast show, and it is Monday, the 8th of August. And all this week, we're chatting to finalists of the British Ex-Forces in Business Awards. Emma Riley served from 1990 to 1993 as a naval radio operator, but was arrested and discharged for being a lesbian. She has since played a key role in overturning the ban on gay people serving in the UK Armed Forces. Emma has had a successful career in business engagement and project management and as a programme manager. And Emma is a finalist for the Inspiration of the Year Award, and she's in, I want to say garden shed, but sometimes when I say garden shed, people get very funny because they call it a garden office. What is it?
I call it a she shed.
Yeah.
Rather than a man cave, it's my she shed.
I like it. It's very nice. And what else is in there? Is it just like your kind of Zoom meetings and stuff, or?
Yeah, well, I work 4 days a week from here now, since lockdown, which is rather nice, actually. I must admit, I rather like the 10-second commute rather than the hour and a half that I normally have into Richmond. But I've got my office stuff here, but we also can use it as a spare room if we have people staying.
Lovely, I love it. Okay, congratulations, by the way. What does it mean to you to be a finalist in the category for British Ex-Forces in Business Awards?
It's quite something, actually. It is quite an incredible recognition that people who are from the forces can have really good careers. I mean, mine was unexpected because obviously I was thrown out in '93, so I had to completely redraw my map of the world, and I didn't have a plan. My plan was the Royal Navy. So when that was taken away from me, I had to start completely from scratch and just basically started temp work and worked my way from opportunity to opportunity as I started to find out what else I might be good at, and so ended up in project management. But it's a huge validation of the journey that I've had over the last 30 years, actually.
Yeah. Just thinking back to sort of when everything changed back in 1993, looking back now, because we're way ahead of that now from being 2022, and looking back, is there still any animosity for you when you look back to that? I mean, or are you okay with it, or are you like, well, I'm not completely okay with it?
It's a very odd thing. I don't have perhaps the anger that I had when I was first thrown out, but I cannot ever completely get rid of the hurt from it. And I certainly would never be able to get rid of the long-lasting kind of mental effects that come from it. I've had quite a long problem with trust and vulnerability and betrayal, all of these things, which obviously come from a very specific incident. And the trauma from that never completely leaves you, and it completely affects how you interact with other people, friends, lovers, all the way through your life. And I can honestly say it's only in the last kind of 5 years that I've really started to properly deal with it.
Yeah, that legacy's horrible, isn't it? What a horrible legacy from that, because you were doing so well. You were flying in the Navy as well.
Well, I was doing pretty well, yes. I joined and was working my way up. I was told that I was really good at my job, and I've had other people validate that I used to be serving with. So it was in the right place for me. That was exactly what I was supposed to be doing, and so having that taken away from you, from basically a conversation I had with my messmate, that I'd said that I was probably gay, and then pretty much literally the next morning it's get up, get dressed, get downstairs, you're under arrest, because they'd called it into the SIB, and part of me hated the SIB for what they did, and part of me thinks, well, they were just doing their job. So it's incredibly complicated. It's a complex thing. I mean, if you've watched the Dame Kelly Holmes documentary, you can see very clearly for her what effect the ban had on her. I mean, that's 34 years of not actually being able to be her true self, which is really pretty horrendous. Yeah. But that's why, I mean, I'm sure you've talked about it on this program before.
Of course.
The LGBT Veterans Review, the Independent Veterans Review, finally, after 22 years, they now have this review open where they're asking for people to actually put forward their lived experiences of what the effect was of the ban. And it's not just people like me who were thrown out, it's friends, family, it's people who served but never came out or who left of their own accord. All of these stories are incredibly important to understand the true effect of that ban.
How did you sort of dust yourself off then and just start again? Because it must have taken, a while to kind of acclimatise to that. You're being chucked down. Suddenly the career path that you'd known and that you were familiar with, suddenly like, no, you can't do that anymore. You've got to think about something else. How did you do that?
I went home, and I can say I'm incredibly lucky that my parents were incredibly supportive. My mum, in fact, has probably never forgiven the Royal Navy. She always will hate
That's
them for
so
what they did to
parental,
me.
isn't it? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very much so. So, I mean, I probably spent 5, 6 weeks at home in my room, like just licking my wounds, I guess.
Mm.
And then I literally I went out and I got temp work because that was the only thing I could think of. They taught me how to type, so I thought, okay, well, I'll use that. And I gradually found out I was kind of good with equipment like fax machines, as there were there, and computers. And so I eventually applied for a job as a help desk operator and just worked my way through IT, fixing computers until I was running the department. And
So,
then,
so this was the
yeah.
legal firm. This was the legal firm. This was the global privacy office. This was the service centre. That kind of stuff.
This is where I ended up. Yeah, in fact,
Yeah.
I've been with the group for 22 years. I started there as a desktop analyst, and I've moved around various opportunities as it came until I've ended up in Reed Exhibitions as the global program manager for the Global Privacy Office. Yeah,
Doing it all from
it's
a garden shed as well.
all from a she shed. Yes,
Yeah.
I speak to Thailand, Japan, China, Australia, America, all sorts of places across. In fact, I was in Manila in the Philippines 2 weeks ago, putting together a new team that we have out there to help us with our privacy work. So
Fantastic.
it's exciting work, and it's a wonderful company to work for. They're incredibly supportive, really good with diversity and inclusion,
Yeah.
putting the right foot forward.
And it's nice that you've got trust with them.
Yes. In fact, one of the key items or key things that happened to me was 25 years after I had been thrown out, there was an opportunity to walk London Pride with the company.
Yeah.
And that was huge for
Yeah.
me. That enormous arc from being thrown out 25 years ago to walking in London Pride with my company, but that was a huge thing for me, and they were incredibly supportive. I've talked for them. I have a video that I did for them to describe that and how that felt for me. But yeah, they've been amazing, actually.
And tell us a little bit about Stonewall and what happened there.
Well, Stonewall, I only had one conversation with Stonewall. Basically, after about 5 years of kind of getting my life back together a bit, I'd settled into a role. I felt a little bit more confident, and I wanted to do something about the ban. And so I literally phoned up Stonewall and said, I'd like to do something about this. Have you got any advice about who I can speak to? And honestly, whoever I talked to that day was completely critical because they gave me the name of the solicitor, Stephen Gross, who was representing one other person who is doing a similar thing to me, who'd also been thrown out. And so from that conversation, I spoke to that solicitor, and we took, well, initially we took the Ministry of Defence to the UK courts, and that didn't work. The premise that we used wasn't successful. So after that, we took my case to the European Court of Human Rights. So it was me versus the United Kingdom, which is a little bit mental.
From your garden shed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at the time, no, but yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but your case helped to lead to a change in the law, didn't it?
Yeah, so there were 4 headline cases, including Duncan Lustig Breen and co. And they were working with Stonewall at the time and Rank Outsiders, which was also founded by Elaine Chambers, who's written a book, This Queer Angel, sorry. She talks about that in there. And but myself and Terence, who were the other person, it needed other stories behind those 4 headline cases to be able to add weight to that. And so, it sometimes gets asked, why did you do it? Well, I needed to do that for myself to say I followed through on what I'd done, because at the end of captain's table, when they say you are now dismissed, they get you to sign a piece of paper which effectively says you're never going to take them to court. And I wrote on there, the only reason I'm not going to try and challenge this now is because my father is so ill. Yeah. And my father had just gone through a quadruple bypass. He was having blackouts and there was a lot going on for him. So that was the only reason that I hadn't, done something then. So I had to do something to say,
I'm coming back to
I was going to do. I'm coming back to get you.
Yeah.
But also just simply because it's a ridiculous ban.
Of course,
you're throwing people out who are good, exceptional characters who whose only crime is the fact that they don't happen to want to sleep with the person of the opposite sex. It's
nuts, isn't it? No, totally. Congratulations for Inspiration of the Year finalist. That is interesting. Do you know anything about the other people who've been nominated in your category? Or not?
I don't. No, I have to admit I haven't actually looked through it just yet. It's in a month's time that they have the excuse me. It's in a month's time that they have the award ceremony in September, and I've been quite busy with the Dame Kelly Holmes stuff that came out a few weeks ago, and then traveling for work and so forth. So it's kind of now that I'm going to have a look and see who else is in the list, and it's exciting. It is definitely exciting.
Very exciting. Emma, so nice to talk to you, and good luck next month when they announce the winner.
Thank you very much, and it's lovely to talk to you as well, Richard.
Thank you.